Ed Miliband's vision for a green-powered Britain has just been hit by a perfect storm, and it's not just the North Sea gales causing chaos. The shock cancellation of the Hornsea 4 offshore wind project off Yorkshire's coast has blown apart Miliband's Clean Power 2030 pledge, exposing it as a costly illusion battered by global politics, economic headwinds, and the influence of Donald Trump. The Danish energy giant Ørsted, which was behind Hornsea 4, abruptly pulled the plug, blaming spiraling costs and surging interest rates. But industry insiders point to a deeper crisis: Donald Trump's climb down on green energy in the US, including halting major wind projects mid-construction and slapping tariffs on renewables, sent shockwaves through the sector. Ørsted's shares nosedived nearly 10%, forcing a global rethink and the scrapping of what would have been one of Britain's largest wind farms, designed to power over 1 million homes with 180 giant turbines. Hornsea 4 was the linchpin in Miliband's grand design to ramp up offshore wind capacity to 43 gigawatts by 2038, target many already saw as wildly optimistic. With this project axed, the UK faces a gaping 14.4 gigawatts shortfall, meaning around 3,000 new turbines would need to rise from British waters in just 5 years, a feat never before achieved. Ministers insist other projects will fill the gap, but industry experts warn of inevitable delays, spiraling costs, and higher energy bills for everyone. Britain must frack, baby frack. As the green agenda unravels, a new poll reveals the British public's mounting frustration. A Merlin Strategy survey of 3,000 people found a staggering 59% believe cutting the cost of living must take priority over expensive net zero ambitions. Just 13% say environmental goals should come first, a resounding rejection of Miliband's £4 billion a year eco-drive, set to run until 2050. This sentiment cuts across party lines: 61% of Labour voters, 70% of Tories, and 65% of Reform supporters all agree cost of living relief must come before climate crusades. Dr. Lawrence Newport of Looking for Growth sums it up: voters aren't rejecting clean energy. They're rejecting a political system that talks green while delivering higher bills, slower building, and endless delays. Scarlett Maguire of Merlin Strategy adds, voters want action on their priorities. The cost of living must come before environmental concerns. The polling lays bare a brutal truth: net zero is fast becoming the new Brexit, a divisive, costly doorstep issue that risks alienating swathes of voters. Labour is stuck between a rock and a hard place: back down on green policies, and they're accused of abandoning the climate fight. Push ahead, and they risk a public backlash over soaring bills and economic pain. The leadership faces a stark choice: stick to Miliband's environmental extremism and risk electoral disaster, or soften the stance and lose credibility with core supporters. Former Conservative Energy Secretary Claire Coutinho has already slammed Miliband's Clean Power 2030 target as unattainable, warning that the Hornsea 4 cancellation exacerbates a troubling situation. She accused Miliband of pinning his entire political credibility on the fantasy that will saddle businesses and consumers with ever-rising costs. Dr. John Constable of the Renewable Energy Foundation warns the cancellation raises doubts about the viability of net zero targets and will force Miliband to hike green subsidies, which already cost British electricity users £25 billion a year. But if wind farms aren't enough, Miliband's next big idea is to turn Britain's car parks into solar farms, a plan that's raising eyebrows and questions in equal measure. The logic? With the government's push to get everyone out of their cars, there'll be plenty of empty parking spaces to cover with solar panels. In a new consultation, Miliband is seeking views on how to blanket supermarket, office, and shopping centre car parks with solar panel canopies. The government claims it's a win-win, making better use of sprawling car parks, generating green electricity, and potentially lowering business energy bills. Motorists could benefit from shaded parking and more EV charging points powered by the panels. What nonsense! These solar panels only work in the summer when their contribution is not needed. They are barely present when we need energy in the cold, dark winters. With wind farm dreams collapsing and air just being full of hot air, along with public support evaporating, a push to now fill empty car parks with solar panels is making Ed Miliband's green revolution look more chaotic than ever. As costs soar and patience wears thin, the question remains, will Labour double down on net zero or finally listen to the British public's real priorities?